Everyone. Welcome to the IDP Guys Waiver Wire podcast. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I'm Justin Frye, and that's Joe Harlow. Find us on X. I'm at FFF Ballers, and he's at Jolo63. Welcome to the Week 8 Waiver Wire live stream. Let's see. If you guys have got any questions, check out all our great content coming out over on the IDP Guys website, idpguys.org, or if you're a member on the Discord server, you can come in and ask any other writers any questions you might have, start sits, ad drops, trades, whatever you're looking for. Got a lot of smart people, great knowledge over there. Hop over and ask us some questions. And as always, throughout the show, feel free to ask us questions. We'll try to hit on them as we get into that specific section. So if you're asking me a DB question a little early, we might hold off until we get to the DBs. And right now we're running a 20% off season-long discount. Use the code WATT 2024. That's W.
I think that code is actually expired. I think I just forgot to take that one off the dock. My bad.
How could you do that to me?
Well, if we run another promotion, we'll let you all know.
All right.
That's my bad.
I'm just joking. I did a lot of show doc today. It's my fault for missing that. So yeah, you want to hop in? Hopefully you guys can understand me. Let me know if I'm not being clear. It sounds like I have a bad head cold. So go ahead.
Yeah, so as always, we will, injuries, which, as always, it was a fun week with these. Feels like we have a lot of names down here and feels like we barely scratched the surface and feel like there was at least 15 names that remember someone got hurt but couldn't find anything. So starting off with probably the biggest one is Nick Bolton, linebacker for the Chiefs, has a dislocated wrist and will be out for, sounds like, 2 months. So we will hit that one a little later on. Cody Barton for the Washington football team has an ankle. Sounds like it's a high ankle, so probably going to miss multiple weeks. We'll also hit on that one a little later. Uchenna Nwosu, the top edge rusher for the Seahawks, with a pec injury. Looks like he's going to be down for the season. Sucks, as he was really turning it on after a great last season. Also, we'll hit a replacement for him later on. Elsewhere, those are the main names we had for IDPs, though I do believe there are some other ones around. On the offensive side of the ball, Ryan Tannehill sounds like is going to miss this week, potentially next week as well. He obviously did not get hurt this week with them being on bye, but just wanted to bring that up. And Mike Vrabel said today or late yesterday in media availability that he's thinking they're going to split reps between Malik Willis and Will Levis, which it's gross. Gross for fantasy, gross for both young quarterbacks. Okay. Deshaun Watson. I think we'll wait for quarterbacks to talk about that one, but that's just such a weird situation. What's going on? He is expected to play Sunday, but we'll see. Also with the Browns, Jerome Ford had an ankle injury. Week to week, another guy will hit on a replacement for later on. Chris Olave, this is not an injury, but he was arrested I don't know if he was arrested, but pulled over for criminal speeding, was going like 35 over speed limit somewhere. So a suspension could be coming down, though Jordan Addison did not get one for earlier this season for a far more egregious speed.
He did have some extenuating, I think he was taking his dog to the vet or something. So as long as Olave has a story like that or something, he should be okay. We'll see. But we'll see how it plays out. I think he's fine for this week, but
but just to keep on the back burner, if Rashid Shaheed is out there, might be a good pickup. Not listed in these names, but just in case.
Good dart throw anyway on bye weeks if you need a flex.
Yes. Which that bye week situation we'll also get into. A couple big receivers, literally. Christian Watson has a knee injury. I did see some optimism he'll play this week, but I believe it was the same issue he's had earlier, so I would be surprised if he did.
Yeah, I've seen some stuff saying likely it's a 1 to 2 week injury.
Yeah.
even though he said he's fine. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know why they'd push him to play.
No reason to at this point. And one of the only receivers bigger than Christian Watson, DK Metcalf. Hip injury, surprise scratch this week. One of those that kind of just expected him to play through it. Did not happen. But
Pete Carroll didn't really say much more besides
Yeah.
we'll see on Wednesday. So
Yeah.
hit on him and just watch the reports this week because well, I'm sure we'll touch on his backup.
We will. Tight end wise, Dawson Knox had a wrist injury as well, also to be determined. It's one negative about doing these shows on Tuesdays. It's before practices. It's like
that one
well,
sounded
we'll
again. That one I expect him to go on IR again.
Yeah.
I would expect a similar timeline to Bolton. He might be done
That
for the
makes sense.
year. So
he wasn't hugely fantasy relevant, so it's
he
was
was
good for
holding.
Kincaid.
I say he was holding Kincaid back, and I do think it's good for him. Kincaid is someone I would go try to get right now.
Yep. And last name we have on here, Zach Ertz, veteran tight end for the Cardinals, went on IR this morning or will be placed on IR. And yeah, so we'll hit on his backup later as well. Another thing to hit on before getting into the waiver wire is bye weeks. Last week, we have these teams coming off of bye, and the Dallas Cowboys, New York Jets, Cincinnati Bengals, Carolina Panthers, Tennessee Titans, and the Houston Texans. So just do another quick check. If you're doing your filters by last week's score, these players from these teams won't come up. So just do another quick check on those. I know in my home league, Dak Prescott was dropped. So went and snagged him up, which hasn't been the greatest play this year, but it's just something that has to happen sometimes. Roster pinches, just drop guy on by, hope it sneaks through. So take a look out for some of those guys. Obviously, Tony Pollard, Jamar Chase won't be out there, but if a Dak Prescott, a Tank Dell, who was also injured, or someone else was dropped who shouldn't normally be on waivers and thus won't be mentioned in this show, just take a gander there. Buys this week? None. Why were there buys in week 5, but not here? And I think there's a couple week 14 buys. That's player safety, right?
Who knows? But we got a few questions we'll get into as we get to those positions. I see ones for linebacker, DB, and D-line. So,
hey, rainbow here. Hello to everyone out there as well. Yeah. And yes, please hit the like button.
Let's see. We still haven't talked the trade, right?
No, the trade. Right. So one trade happened this week. I'll let you get into that, Justin.
So for anyone who missed it, Kevin Byard was traded from Tennessee to Philadelphia for a couple late day 3 selections and Terrell Edmonds. So great for Byard. We'll probably touch on what it means a little bit for Tennessee when we get to the DB section because it's a little more murky there.
Yeah, it's a great trade for both teams, honestly. Tennessee gets out of a lot of money. I think 2 years, 25 is what Byard has left.
I mean, it makes sense for both sides for sure.
It does. And Byard has been a little disappointing this year. At least he's had good tackle numbers, but has not had an interception this season. I've done a lot of the write-ups for the Titans, which is fun as a Colts fan. But this week this year with previews and reviews, and he's racking up the tackle numbers. But I know he's had, I think, 30 interceptions over the previous 5 years. So those are more likely to come now with a really good team. So he's another maybe buy the dip, though it may not be a dip anymore. Alrighty, so want to get into the defensive line?
Sure, we'll kick it off. Let's see, 2 names last week. Got one right, the other one was on bye, so great job, Joe. Justin Matabuke had probably butchered that. It's a lot of fun names to pronounce.
Nailed
it. Had a sack and a forced fumble, a few tackles, so take that as a win. And Bryce Huff still on bye, coming off, so great pickup. Not going to be mentioned this week. Well, besides now, but it's another solid pickup if he's still available. He's been playing time's been ticking up. Carl Lawson's going to be gone soon, Um, so great ad if you need a D lineman as well as Michael Hoyt. See if I'm saying that name right. The Rams
Believe
defensive
so.
end. Um,
Also
so if
listed
I'm,
as a linebacker on Sleeper, which is fun for a 310-pound player, but
I mean, last year on MFL you could play him as your D tackle, so that was awesome
Mhm.
down the stretch. But yeah, he's playing edge for them, so that's where he should be playing and should be listed. But he's played 90% of snaps in 5 of the 7 games, gotten at least 3 tackles in every game. He's been struggling to put up the sack totals, but hadn't had any since the half sack in week 1. But this past week he got 2 against the Steelers. So a little streaky of a player at times, but he got 4.5 down the last 6 games in 2022, and if he's going to start getting hot again, he's at least worth adding and throwing on the bench. He's, like I said, got the full time role, and playing next to Aaron Donald never hurts anyone. So uh, Cowboys aren't the best matchup, but I also don't think they're the worst matchup for edge rusher. So I'm fine throwing him in lineups this week or throwing him on my bench and just wait and see.
Yeah, in the deeper league, he's a good play, and he's been really good on field, especially the last couple weeks. I think he had 5 pressures, not this past week, but the week before against, I don't remember who they played, but he's been solid. Just deeper play, stash. See if he or Byron Young does take off, and Young has also been really good. I know he was one of your favorites this year.
Yeah, he's been crushing it too. So
Another guy who is one of Justin and I's favorites in the draft process, Derek Hall, rookie out of Auburn with the Seahawks. With Uchenna Nwosu done for the year, this probably isn't a play this week. Remains to be seen whether it'll be Hall or Darrell Taylor taking over that role. Most likely, at least at first, it is going to be more of a split. I know Taylor had a sack this week, and I think had either 9.5 or 10.5 sacks last year, so has that ability in that profile. So, but Hall is a good stash at this point. Good player to pick up. Good talent. Solid against the run. Hasn't had much opportunity yet. I think he's been playing consistently in the high 20s to mid 30s for snaps, but that should jump pretty soon now.
yeah, hopefully we'll see how he does this week going forward. But
And
yeah, I mean, the last name we at least need to bring up is another one of our favorite guys, Rashawn Gary. Somehow it seems like he's a little underowned coming off the bye. His playing time ticked up again. It looks like he's ramping back up to a full-time guy again off the ACL he had partway through last year, and he's got 26 pressures on 101 pass rush snaps. So
yes, so have a little
pretty
fun trivia
solid.
for you here, Justin, if you didn't uncolor code my note in the doc. But he is tied for 23rd in the league with those 26 pressures. But guess how many players have more pass rush snaps per PFF than Gary this year?
How many have more pass rush snaps?
Yes.
I'm guessing close to 200.
It's close to 200. Is 158 have
Okay.
rushed the passer more than Gary, but only 22 have had more pressures. So, and he showed a lot of that in the last year or so before he got injured. So
He's always been a monster when he's been out there.
So getting back into that full-time role, he's increased from I think 25 to 45 to 7% of snaps this week or something like that. So another name just to bring up briefly, another guy that Justin and I both love is Odafe Owe for the Ravens, with a great matchup against Arizona. Didn't want to list him fully officially here. Just we have a lot of Ravens come up, which will happen with a great defense with a lot of rotational pieces. But yeah, just great play there. Another name to bring up. And this was his first week back off of injury, so keep an eye on him as well for future games as he gets back into full health.
think that's it
Looks
for
like
D-line, man.
Looks like we have a couple defensive line questions. Start with this one from TM.
I'm starting with Chase Young. He's been crushing it this year. He's one of the few that's ahead of Gary with pressures. Probably Will Anderson next.
Yeah.
And
Then I would go Allen Oliver Hoyt.
Yeah, my gut was that is whether or not I wanted to put Oliver ahead of Allen or not, because Oliver's kind of having his true breakout this year. So
Allen's also been super consistent as always, but
yeah, Oliver.
Those two are the...
Oliver, you might not have this week on a Thursday night, and he missed last week, so probably Allen's the better pickup, especially if you need to play him this week.
Yep. I would agree there.
Let's see.
Another question for one of your guys. A couple of your guys.
Yeah, so Jalen Phillips for Montez Sweat. Jeez. That's a fun list of players.
That's a great...
Man, I don't want to drop either of them, and I want to add Phillips. I guess
I know, right? Maybe let's see matchups this week. The Packers have... Who do the Packers have? They have Minnesota. The Dolphins have...
The Patriots.
I just lost them. Where'd they go? The Patriots, and the Commanders or football team has the Eagles.
I think of that group,
So
Sweat is third on my list, but
at least for this week, yeah.
I think I'd rather have.
I think
Phillips
in a vacuum,
Gary, especially
in
Will.
a
If I
vacuum,
remember, so sorry. Go ahead.
In a vacuum, Sweat is third to me, but I think I would rather have him and one of Gary or Phillips, just with the injury risk and having a floor of getting hurt on the second play of the game and putting up a 0.
Okay, fair. I mean, Will, if I remember right, it's a lot of best ball. He's typically asking on.
Yeah.
So, Will, is it a best ball league?
Or a big play bonus.
Or yeah.
It will also ask if it's time to trust him, as he got a nice 69% of snaps this week. But
yes, I wanted 1 week on the bench to see it. I didn't play in a league and lost the matchup because of it, but whatever.
Hate it when that happens.
Yeah. I actually started Rashawn Gary over him. Didn't put up numbers, played well, whatever.
Fantasy.
Best ball. Yeah, in the best ball, I'm more tempted to drop Sweat and have the other two high upside guys.
Yeah, honestly, even in a normal non-best ball league, I'm probably still dropping Sweat for Phillips, but I'd be scared of it.
Yeah.
Has room to carry all three, but would have to drop a linebacker or safety. If it's only a play one D lineman, I would only want to roster 2.
Yeah.
Or if you also have like Myles Garrett out there taking up another spot, but probably just stick with Phillips and Gary, especially with the best ball. Most likely one of the two is going to have a game each week.
Yeah.
Any other D-line related questions?
No, not that I'm seeing.
Alrighty, so let's get into the linebackers. Last week, Oren Burks was one name. He was fine, 6 tackles, which was surprising since Dre Greenlaw did play. So probably wasn't started anywhere, but still was solid. He is in a super deep league. He's still a fine play, or is a handcuff to Fred Warner or Dre Greenlaw, but most leagues probably don't need to hold him. Jelani Tavai had 4 or 5 tackles. Wasn't great. And then Blake Cashman was on bye. The Texans linebacker room is still kind of just in flux. Was not really sure where to think about them.
Well, so to add fun to that, they just announced that they re-signed, what is his name? The veteran that they had there all preseason. No, the other, Corey Littleton is back.
Oh, geez. Yeah, cut them all. Not really, but
I'm guessing it's Toto is going to stay up there. there must be an injury that's coming. You're going to see one of the guys announced.
Or Harris. Harris might honestly get cut. Like, if he's not playing special teams,
I would think he gets dealt before cut, but we'll see.
Yeah, one of the two. I don't think. Gross.
Do you want to touch on the big name this week, or?
Yeah. So I know we were talking, and I think this first name might be the Jerome Ford of the defense for this year. This might be the big pickup on the waiver wire for goodness gracious, for IDPs this year. Drew Tranquil, who we've brought up before. He was great as Nick Bolton's replacement for a few weeks earlier in the year. And but you might not have started him in many games because Bolton was is he going to play? Is he not? Is he going to be limited? But now he's going on IR. It's at least 4 weeks, probably going to be closer to 8. So lock and load Tranquil. He's a top. Where did you have him in your overall ranks, Justin? 10 overall, I thought you said?
Yeah, I think so. I think I had him 9th overall this week, and I don't see any scenario where he'd fall outside my top 15 linebackers for sure.
He's a locked-in linebacker one.
Yeah, he played 100% of snaps when Bolton was out. I mean, he's gotten sacks in each of the last 2 games with Bolton back, so they use him in other ways too. So it'll be interesting to see if they can continue to kind of use him in that manner while also having him play that full-time role, because he really didn't do that when Bolton was out.
Yeah. But I do believe he did that a decent amount with the Chargers over the last couple of years.
He did, for sure. So
he has that skill set. But
I would like to see him continue to kind of play in that role.
Agreed.
And they get the Broncos this week, so plenty of tackle opportunities against that running game.
I think the big question here is not whether to get him, but I'm sure we'll get some questions in with some names to take him over. And what percentage of fab would you be willing to drop on him? And he's a clear, if you have the top waiver priority, burn it.
Yeah.
To me, at least.
Depends how bad you need a linebacker. Initial thoughts, 50 to 75, easily 100 if you need
especially
it.
At this point. Yeah.
There's not much point to holding it anymore. And you're not likely going to see a clear-cut starting linebacker like this if you need one on waivers like this. It doesn't happen. Typically you'll see Willie Gay will step up, and then they'll move Leo Chenal up, and everyone just kind of shifts up, and those players are typically already rostered. So there's not usually a clear backup that's not being rostered like this.
Yeah. And with I'm sure there will be some Willie Gay concern out there, just since when Bolton did come back, Gay went back to being the linebacker too. It does seem like that Tranquil is the true backup for Bolton. And that's how it was last year. I think Gay's snaps have been pretty consistent across the board, whether Tranquil or Bolton was starting. So it would be very surprising to see that trend not continue.
So Tranquil over those.
And Gay is also a pickup, though.
Yeah, Tranquil is over everyone but CJ Mosley on that list for me. Like, I would drop any of the other players for him.
Al-Shaair, I would hesitate on, but
I mean, most likely,
but still probably.
Quincy Williams has had a good year, but he's the one that scares me the most on that list.
Mm-hmm. Though if it is more of the best ball league, well, I guess Tranquil has a lot of that in him too, but Quincy has a lot of big play potential. I think I would rank this CJ, Tranquil / Al-Shaair, Quincy pretty close on both of them, and then the other 3, probably Wagner, White, Edwards, White. Wagner's tough right now.
Yeah, I can see dropping Wagner.
Yeah, just.
I honestly, like I said, whoever if you're thinking drop Wagner, I'd go with that. Like I said, Tranquil over all these guys except for CJ Mosley. So I'm perfectly.
I would drop Kaiser first. Just he's annoying to watch and to have on there. And Wagner he's been struggling, but still is getting double-digit tackles a game. Or he had 9 again this week and half a sack, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
So
we had another Tranquil
he's
question
still-
earlier. Sorry. We could touch on, had a lot of good names on it. All right.
Okay,
Waiver
that's
wire
fine.
ads. Tranquil's one.
Clearly.
And clear one to me. I think I'm putting Devin
Yeah.
Lloyd second, which is kind of scary.
I was about to say that and was wondering how you're going to feel.
Jack
I think
Campbell.
Kenneth Murray would be next.
Campbell just trended way up this past week. It'll be interesting to see how that continues. But at the very least, he's worth considering in that 3 slot. Kenneth Murray as well. And then it's a take
I'm
your
going to
pick
push back
between
on
the
that.
two
I don't think
Texans.
Campbell is worth. I don't think Campbell's worth consideration in the 3rd spot right now. Just they still love and have Anzalone. I don't. At best, he's going to be 1A this year, whereas Murray is the locked-in one right now. Damone Clark is also the locked-in one.
I think I'd rather have Campbell over Clark. But
okay. Yeah.
I mean, Clark for me is behind whichever Texan you want to put up there. Probably Toto.
Yeah, he's probably
So
the top
I'd
one.
probably my order would probably be Tranquil, Lloyd, Murray, Campbell, Toto, Clark, Perryman, Dodson.
Yeah, and I think I would just swap Campbell with Clark there. Or no, I would put Campbell behind Clark, but still Clark behind Toto. So I would go Tranquil, Lloyd, to Murray to Oto, Clark, Campbell, Dodson, Perryman, Dodson. Sorry.
I think it's Perryman, Dodson.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with the Bills linebackers.
Bills
Dodson-
and Texans are just weird.
Dodson was on the show sheet. We're not going to talk about him, but he played more than Dorian, so like I don't know what to do there anymore. That's just a gross situation, apparently.
Yeah. Very gross. But we'll see how it goes Thursday night.
Tranquil over.
Oh,
is that
Will does bring
Kenneth?
up a good.
Sorry, Kenneth.
I would assume Kenneth Murray.
Kenneth Murray. Yeah, Tranquil's. Yeah.
That is a good point. That does kind of seem to be a bit of what happened this week. But
Yeah, it's going to be hit and miss. Kaiser struggles for sure. So, I mean, I could see dropping him.
Yep.
We got another linebacker to talk about.
yes.
Uh,
Another question or just one? Next name?
Nope. Next name for the Commanders. With Barton going down with a potential high ankle, you got a couple week fill-in from David Mayo, most likely. He only played about 60% of snaps, but he did get 9 tackles in those 60% of snaps this past week.
Solid.
Which is, I take that linebacker 2 most weeks. And going against the Eagles, they're likely to trail by a reasonable amount, which means you're going to see a heavy dose of the Philly running game and a lot more opportunity for tackles for Mayo.
Yep.
So, seems like a good opportunity to play him.
Yep.
You want to touch on the last linebacker we got?
Yeah, Jack Gibbons, the linebacker 2 in Tennessee. Again, not a linebacker 1 sort of play, but like I said earlier, I've done a lot of the write-ups for the Titans this week with previews and reviews. Just worked out that way. And he's been surprisingly really good all year. How many tackles does he have on the year? Almost 30 over the last 3 games, has 5 in every game. A good point in the show doc that we have is with the Titans struggling and just selling Byard, Azeez Al-Shaair could be on the move as well. I think he only was on a 1 or 2 year deal, so probably pretty easy to move as well. Yeah,
and there's
could see that
plenty
as
of
well.
plenty of teams that need linebacker right now.
Yeah. So, and if he gets that linebacker 1 role, awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been really good. Doesn't have much outside of the tackle floor. I think he has a couple half sack games, but Yeah, solid player, and he's been playing into 80% of snaps most weeks, 60% every week. I think over the last few weeks, it's been a lot higher.
Yeah.
Which I would double check if my
It's
internet wasn't so slow right now.
It's bouncing around, but 80 earlier and then down to 60 and then back up to 80 last week or 2 weeks ago. So it's kind of all over the place depending on who they're playing. But versus Atlanta, I would guess it's going to tick back up again.
Yep.
So,
Oh, another name we should have mentioned in injuries is Bijan Robinson, with that weird migraine.
Who knows? What a weird situation.
Maybe he questioned Arthur Smith's mustache. Who knows? Like, that team is so weird.
Yeah, I don't understand how he's healthy enough to go in there for the last drive, but whatever.
Yeah, that was weird. But
so
defensive backs.
We
did we do?
We did all right. 1 and 2. Jamal Adams got 6 tackles, which I'll take as a win. Not great, but I mean, played all the snaps. He's got 50% of the box snaps. Like, if he was out there and you got him, you might not be happy with the production last week, but over the rest of the season, you've got a locked and loaded top 24 probably DB minimum with, I think, some upside. I mean,
yeah,
Julian Love was like top 6, I think, before Adams came back. So, and he kind of just took that role from him.
And I will say, don't drop Julian Love. He did still play 91% of snaps this week.
I don't understand.
And I think half of those were in the box.
Yeah, I don't know what they
were doing.
It's one of
those things. They have 3 great corners, 3 great safeties. It's gonna 2 greats or 1 great and a Hall of Fame linebacker. It's like they got to get those guys on the field. That's what, 8 players. They got to get them all on the field.
Yeah. So the other 2 were take L's on. Justin Reed struggled, just 4 tackles. And McMillian for the Broncos, unfortunately, decided to not show up on the stat sheet in half the snaps. So, well.
I will say Reed I still feel confident in. Definitely is going to be more of
good role. So,
yeah, solid play.
We'll probably bounce around on the dock here, Joe. I'll let you take your guys on the top of this, and I'll take the bottom guys. So I'll start off with Andre Chachere.
Chaucery.
Sure.
Chaucery, I believe. I think.
He's the Arizona Cardinals starting free safety. He's played about 100% of the snaps each of the last 3 weeks, playing next to Budda Baker now. Not necessarily the highest ceiling, but it is a bad defense that's been giving up yardage, giving up points. So there's plenty of opportunities that they're going to be passed on. They got the Ravens this week. He's got opportunities for interceptions. He's posted at least 5 tackles in each of the last 3 games where he's been playing that full-time role. If you need a DB, you want to make sure you get some sort of production. I guess there are worse names. Cornerbacks always scare me, so I'll look at safeties, especially with full-time roles, and he's got it. So, I mean, DB in general this week is going to be a pick your poison, who you want. We're going to give you 4 names, and I couldn't.
4.5 names, really.
I'd struggle to order them, to be perfectly honest. So
I have a clear one, but
want to go ahead and talk about your first guy?
My first guy is actually the linebacker 2 for the Cowboys, Marquise Bell. Last week, he's a safety. He was a safety at Florida A&M, kind of that similar hybrid role that we saw Marte Mapu and Kyle Duggars play. But 2 weeks ago, with the Cowboys off the bye, he was the linebacker 2 for them. And that's a good role to have. He's already had multiple games with 7+ tackles, even though he's been mostly in a reserve role to start the year. I think the first one of those was against the Giants when the game was over, about 90 minutes before kickoff. But yeah, so he's the clear one to me, and that's mostly just because he's playing a lot of linebacker. But still kind of scary, just as I think there still have been the rumors of Rashawn Evans. Or did he end up signing with their practice squad?
They signed someone to their practice squad. I just don't remember who it was.
Yeah, I don't think it was anyone. No, there was Evans rumors. I think who they did is not anyone I remember the name, but he's my top one. Not playing with a huge amount of confidence because, again, the ceiling is linebacker 2. So, but for a shot at a defensive back role, if you can steal some linebacker spots in your defensive back role, like also Jeremy Chin in the past. I don't expect that sort of ceiling, but who knows? Second year player out of a FCS D2 school, maybe could happen. I think Famu is FCS.
Yeah, not sure. Not
Believe.
as plugged into college.
Yeah, Bell did only play 53% of snaps in week 6, but the majority of those were as the linebacker. So hopefully he's got a bigger role there.
Yeah, I'm not seeing much coming up on linebackers for the Cowboys, so it doesn't seem like there was much of a name.
Good sign.
So, another DB. So, we talked about the Kevin Byard trade. We talked about Terrell Edmonds going back to the Titans in that deal. However, what are you going to do if you're the Titans trying to get younger, play for the future? You're going to play this 1-year deal linebacker that you got back, or is he just a depth piece while you take a look at some of your younger guys, like, say, Elijah Molden, who we're going to talk about as a potential stash player while we see what happens this week. Look, that Byard role, he's struggling a little bit, but, I mean, it's still a fantastic role in that defense, and I would expect whoever takes over to produce solid, possibly DB2 type numbers for you. He's been kind of banged up. I think Vrabel said today that he's expected to practice tomorrow. He's been fighting a hamstring injury, but hopefully coming off the bye, him practicing is a great sign. So if he can get back, maybe he can. He played a near full-time role week 1, week 2 before injuries, and he had 8 tackles in that first game of the year. So I think there are worse players to take a shot on if you need a DB. I don't really want to play him this week, but at the very least, if you're asking me who to add and throw on my bench, he's up there.
Yeah, I would agree. He also does have good versatility for just being the slot corner. If a Christian Fulton or who's the other outside corner? The name's totally gone.
The blanking.
Yeah. When Fulton got hurt in week 1, McCreary kicked out and Molden took over the slot, which is partially why McCreary goosed in week 1. So also, most likely it will seem like if Fulton or whoever the other outside corner is, it's Murphy Bunting from Tampa.
Okay.
So if one of them is dealt or misses time, Molden also probably drops back into the slot, Edmonds into that deep safety role, and McCreary to the outside. So, and in that case, then Molden's a good play as a corner as well.
You want to hit on the last name we got, another quarterback?
Yes. Cam Taylor-Britt, the second-year corner for the Bengals out of Nebraska. He's been balling out this year. 5 tackles in 4 of the last 5 games, has interceptions in the last 2 weeks with a touchdown return in one of them. Now they have the 49ers matchup, which sounds scary on paper, but Brock Purdy has been struggling lately. So I think he's thrown 3 or 4 interceptions over the last 2 games. So he's going to have a lot of opportunities there. I know he's one player you've been in on for a while. If you have any more you want to add on him.
I think you hit on it. We got a lot of questions we got to get through.
I saw that.
All right, let's start off with the first one we had in.
Is that Kayvon Wallace? If so, I think he is a cut at this point.
Yep.
Just to start there.
I agree.
Did not play a defensive snap this week.
So Kyle Hamilton.
Which also
one.
answers one of Will's questions.
Yeah, Kyle Hamilton 1.
Yep.
Rank these safeties, I assume, over the season? Or for like ads basically. Hamilton, Von
What is
Bell.
Von Bell's injury status?
I would think he should be back. He seemed like he was close, then he was on the bye, so I haven't heard anything yet.
Steve Santa last week said that it was not. Thought he saw something that was not good last week. I don't remember what it was.
Without more information, he's still my 2.
Yeah.
I think I'm putting Jabril Peppers 3. He seems to be really taking over as a leader, playmaker on the defense. Metellus 4, Bell 5, Wallace cut.
Yeah, I would agree there, and I think the hardest discussion there would be between Metellus and Peppers.
Yeah, and both of them would jump
Von
ahead
Bell
of.
is healthy, of course.
Both of them would jump ahead of Von Bell if he's out for a couple weeks, and you get any kind of information on that. But he wasn't ruled out till.
Yeah, I just did a quick search and haven't seen anything. So
he wasn't ruled out till Friday or Saturday last week. So cool. I'm a little afraid of that one. Let's see.
Yeah.
Would you drop Taylor or Snead for Taylor Britt?
I would not.
Yeah, I think
Snead's still been, even though he's been on the outside exclusively, he's still getting so many tackles. I think the lowest he's had this year is like 4. And I think he has similar interception upside.
We'll hit on, there's a couple offensive questions in here. We'll hit on them when we get to offense, when we flip over here. Let's see. Linebacker question. Kazir, Tranquil, Elshair, Ken Murray, Devin Lloyd, Ernest Jones.
So my first question is Tranquil or Ernest Jones? I think that's Tranquil. Number 1.
Jones' playing time's been trending the wrong way.
Has it been? I think he was also a little nicked up, though.
I think so, too, but I don't love seeing that. And I'll take Tranquil over him the way he's played so far this year. So
that's fair.
Tranquil, Jones, Lloyd, Elshair, Murray, Kaiser White. It's a lot of the similar names to what we hit on the last earlier. So I think you're mostly in agreement with me on that too. You might have had Elshair over Lloyd, but
I honestly don't remember. I think I had Elshair over Lloyd, but it sounds that's the way it worked. And Ernest Jones was a game time call this week to play, and he got hurt at the end of last week. But so that's why his snap counts have been lower over the last 2 weeks. But he's still their number 1 guy. I would still take Ernest, assuming he's healthy. I'm taking Ernest over Tranquil, but that's a coin flip. It's like a 55-45 to me.
Yeah. Safety to own in Denver. I think it's still Justin Simmons.
Especially with Kareem getting suspended.
Yeah, the whole situation's kind of rough right now. But I think I'd taken Simmons there. And then let's see.
Caden Stearns was a season ender, right? It wasn't like could be back by week 8 or 10.
I don't remember.
I think it was thought it was a pretty big season ender one. Yeah, I think it has to be Simmons.
Yeah. Let's see. Would you drop Jordan Brooks for Kaiser? I don't think so. Or would you drop it for Elshair? I would be willing to drop Kaiser for Elshair. I think I would drop Jordan Brooks for Elshair.
Yeah, I think rest of season of those 3.
Kaiser.
Yeah. Brooks, though, I really want to have as a hold right now, especially Bobby. As great as Bobby is still, and he still is like an elite run defender, Brooks has to eventually take over. The Seahawks can't keep putting Bobby out there every snap. Just like as the season goes on, they can't keep doing it. But
Yeah.
and Brooks has been, I think, 9 tackles a game, even though he's playing 80% of snaps. So
Yeah. I mean, he always puts up tackles regardless.
yep.
So a lot of time on defense. I think that's it. We'll hop over to offense. But if you
Yep.
got more defense questions, keep shooting them at us. We'll hit on them.
Absolutely.
Let's knock out those. We've had a couple offensive questions in here for a while. So
Yes, we have.
the first one was asking about Tyrod Taylor and Superflex, which is fitting since we're starting off with quarterback. I really think the Giants have to go back to Daniel Jones. I don't like
Yeah.
it, but I don't know how you play Tyrod over him at this point.
Tyrod's looked, I don't know, his 2 games I think have been better than any of Jones's games. Maybe this not the second half of Arizona, but they have to go back to Jones though when he's healthy.
It's scary because like if he
Money stocks.
assuming he does get healthy, what, you're going to throw him back out there against the Jets? You're setting him up for failure on that one. Like, and then everyone's going to be screaming for Tyrod anyway. Like, I don't really want to. You can add him in Superflex.
Yeah, if you have a spot to burn, I don't hate it, but
excuse me, sorry about that. Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked if he starts this week. And struggles, honestly, because it's the Jets defense off a bye.
Yeah, I'd agree there.
Let's see. We had one other offensive question, so I think we got a couple more defensive questions back in.
7-0, good work.
Tua, CMC, Murray, Kapolave, Goddard, Flex, James Cook. I'm going to get by trading James Cook for my flex.
I'm
going to try to trade him for a receiver, probably, assuming it's any kind of PPR league.
Yeah.
And I would start with a frustrated Devontae Smith manager.
Calvin Ridley as well.
Ridley, T. Higgins, maybe.
That'd be.
Or start with all of those managers and see if any of them are really annoyed with their players.
A Jalen Waddle manager too.
Yeah, that one's a good option. I'd even at least look at the. You're not going to get it 1-for-1, but look at the Justin Jefferson manager and see what his record is.
That's a good one.
And see if you can sneak him off of their team for an Olave and a Cook and get you another piece back in that deal that you like.
If they had like a Deontay too.
Yeah, exactly. You get a couple players that, you get a flex option in a Deontay, and then you lock up another stud wide receiver next to Cup in Jefferson when he comes back. Something like that.
Off a big Goddard game, you could try to see if combining Cook and Goddard could get you an upgraded tight end. Probably still wouldn't get you Kelsey, but maybe to the Andrews or yeah.
Let's see. We had a couple other questions. Safeties: Dax Hill, Bates, Bell, Simmons, Hamilton.
Oof, that's a tough one. Marquise Bell at the bottom.
Hamilton, Hill, Bates, Bell, Simmons, Von Bell, Justin Simmons, Marquise Bell. The last 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there. Did you have Jesse Bates or Von Bell higher?
Bates.
Okay.
Just for the injury risk.
Yeah. If Von's healthy, I would put him ahead of Bates, but with that question mark, I'd be fine with Bates over him.
And honestly, I could see Hamilton or Dax Hill either way, whichever one you want. Patrick Queen or Al-Shaair. I think I want Al-Shaair, but those Queen's been doing so well, and he gets to rush the passer quite a bit. So, especially in a big play league, I'd probably be more apt to hold Queen.
Agreed. That's a tough one, though.
It is. Taylor, Kirk, Purdy for Mahomes. Almost accepted. Oof.
Okay.
All right. Sorry. Quarterbacks. Interesting
Yeah.
to see quarterback trade value in leagues. You never know what you can get. Quarterbacks are pretty gross this week.
Wow.
We're going to talk
Super gross.
Baker Mayfield as the quarterback stream of the week.
And we're going to just duck and hide real quick.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
top 18 quarterback in 4 or 6 games, so he's not shouldn't kill you, I'll say. The Bills have been not great against on defense the last few weeks, so I'm willing
yeah,
to
Gerard Mack have been solid the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's not exactly like murderer's row of quarterbacks. They're around mid-pack in the last 2 weeks. Mid-pack the last 4 weeks. Yeah, they're not a defense you need to avoid at the quarterback position.
And it's one of those that's gross. Like the next 2 names we were thinking were Mac Jones, we've already brought up a couple times here, has had very up and down year. And then the next name was like Tyson Bagent. So
yeah, the one I want to bring up is bye weeks. You brought up you got Dak Prescott. It wouldn't surprise me if someone dropped a CJ Stroud. He crushed it the first few weeks, and he kind of tapered off a little bit going into the bye week. So he might have been dropped with the 6 teams on bye last week. So just I'd be more tempted to look at who's on bye or who's coming off bye, and those guys might be available. But yeah, it's a pretty gross.
Also, another retread name with Desmond Ritter, who's been really good passing the last few weeks. This past week with 3 fumbles, really only 1 was on him, 1.5.
Yeah, that last one. I think the last one was on him. I'm not. Yeah, the
one
other 2.
snap. Yeah, but he's been really good passing the ball.
Yeah,
and so. And last week was Derek Carr was the name, and he ended up with a fine stat line. I think was a top 12 quarterback on the week, or pretty close to it. So
yeah, I mean, streaming quarterback didn't hurt you. So you're rarely going to get the elite quarterback stream. So.
Into the running backs. I do see another question real quick, just a follow up from George. James Cook and Olave for Downs and Jefferson. Yeah,
I like that.
I would definitely try it.
Yeah.
The worst I can say is no. And I see in here Minshew comment, never Minshew. From a Colts fan who has never liked Gardner Minshew, but it's probably not a horrible play at all.
I was going to say this week, don't watch the game, but you'll probably end up with a fine stat line.
I know this past week, looking at the numbers and then watching the game, it's like this was one of the 5 worst quarterback performances I've ever seen. Like the Pittman touchdown was a hospital ball that, yeah. I'm not going to start with Minshew. I'm going to stop before we go into it.
All right.
I do see another safety question, which we'll hit on in a minute. Running backs. Last week, Zach Evans. Okay, well, he's still the running back 3 or 4 or 7. It was a fun half game.
Hopefully you were paying attention to all the news as it came out, because they definitely started to kind of tell you it wasn't going to be him. So.
Then the other name we had was Jordan Mason, and Christian McCaffrey ended up playing. So, dang. The 2, we're not giving you any names this week as much as we are giving you backfields. The Rams backfield first. Since Zach Evans ended up being the 3rd running back, the 2020 RB2s took over this one with Darrell Henderson and Royce Freeman. So, do you want to get into them a little more, Justin?
Sure. I mean, both of them played enough that you could play either one. This week's matchup against the Cowboys is not ideal, and I mean, again, they're both playable. They both saw. Henderson was 57% of snaps, and he saw 20 opportunities right off the street. So I actually expect his role to grow, and Freeman's might get a little smaller, but we'll see. Freeman saw the other 43% of snaps and got 12 carries, and is more of a deeper league flex type option, whereas Henderson probably could be played as like an RB2, even in like a 12-team league. Because, I mean, Kyron was nothing really all that special and still was putting up multiple touchdowns like every single week, it seemed like. So this week's matchup, not great, but Kyron on IR and Rivers on IR means you get 2 more guaranteed games after this week of Henderson and Freeman. And those matchups are much, much more straightforward with Green Bay and Seattle, especially Green Bay.
Yep.
So I'm happy to target Darrell Henderson wherever he's available, and Freeman if I need a flex type play in a deep league.
Yeah, in a week or two, I think we're going to have a discussion on what this means for Kyron. But not yet.
Mean, I have thoughts.
If anything.
Okay. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Yeah. Then the Browns backfield with Jerome Ford being down. We briefly mentioned Kareem Hunt last week. Is the lead back maybe now? Probably. Also going to be the passing back, probably. Pierre Strong is also there. Has a lot of juice. Deeper ad. I think he had a big run in the game. Chubb got hurt, right? Initially.
Yeah. And Strong, honestly, he played more in the fourth quarter over Hunt, which was kind of weird.
Interesting.
So I'm like, I think it's Hunt. I'd probably order them Henderson, Hunt, Strong, Freeman of the 4.
That sounds right.
I think Strong has more upside than Freeman just without an injury to potentially take the role. Like the Browns didn't want Hunt back, and it took 2 injuries to get Hunt to this point. Yeah, he scored 3 times in the last 2 weeks, but and he's more likely to be the goal line back. But I think Strong, I really liked him coming out.
Yeah.
So.
And Seattle matchup this week.
Not great, not bad.
Also, another name at quarterback, PJ Walker, maybe. Who knows?
Who
knows?
Oh.
Yes. And we are going a bit long, so let's hit wide receivers real quick. Last week we did fine. Kendrick Bourne was solid, but we'll get into that situation a little more. Marvin Mims, we're just going to move on. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, they decided to just Darren Waller week. Okay.
Yeah.
And are always never wrong, just early. Josh Downs again went off this week. So
I can never time them right.
Yeah. Just take our names and play them not this coming week, but the week after, apparently.
Well, that's a tough one with 4 rookie wide receivers we're going to bring up this week.
Yep. Jake Bobo. Well, DK, interesting status there. Especially also we didn't mention that he got kind of in a fight last week or the week before. Again. And
it seems like it's weekly with him.
It really is.
He shoves a cornerback to the ground and doesn't get any penalty for it.
Yeah. I know our friend Shandon has some takes on that one, but yeah. So Bobo, if DK, this is purely if Metcalf misses, Bobo's the replacement. He had the highest graded game for a wide receiver PFF has ever charted this week. So that's a fun fact. But I think it was 99.9. But he still is going to be DK's backup if he plays. Had 75% of snaps, 5 targets, 61 yards, crazy touchdown. Cleveland's a bad matchup.
Yeah. And I mean, just if you happen to JSN happened to be dropped, he's the priority ad because he looked really good.
Yeah, and he has looked good. Got the targets with DK not there.
Yeah. Do you want to touch on the next names too?
Yeah, the Packers rookie duo, Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks. this again is like if Christian Watson does end up missing a week or two. Reed has still only been in the slot, but should see more targets now. And yeah, he was really good without Watson the first 3 weeks of the year, was it?
Yeah.
And so hopefully, and Dontavian Wicks was the replacement for Christian Watson those first few weeks. Saw a few targets. Both are more dart throw, and flex options, but Reed especially would be one I'm interested in. Get some easier throws to him, targets to him from Jordan Love, who has been not playing poorly, but struggling a little bit. Definitely hitting that first-year starter wall.
Yeah. Reed was definitely a priority when Watson was out. I think he had the highest targets per route run on the team by a decent margin.
Yeah. It's just there weren't that many routes run.
Yeah.
He would definitely be the priority.
I do hope to see, if it is a multi-week injury for Watson, maybe they'll actually let Reed play in 2 wide receiver sets.
Hopefully.
And one other thing to mention, too, with these two, Luke Musgrave also was not playing at the end of that game with a foot injury. So if both Musgrave and Watson are out, that's like a decent amount of targets that can't all go to Romeo Doubs. So someone's going to see some opportunity. And
I would put money on it being Reed, but
Reed would be my prioritization too. And then the one season-long guy we want to kind of bring up is the Patriots finally actually did kind of look at what they were doing and change some stuff up. So you talked about Kendrick Bourne up above. Bourne played the highest snap share of any Patriots wide receiver. He actually, for once, they stopped playing Devontae Parker, who was doing nothing anyway.
Finally.
Jalen Reagor actually played almost as many snaps as Parker off the practice squad. Yeah. And Juju was hurt out with a concussion, but based on how the Patriots offense looked, I don't foresee you're not taking Douglas, who was their most explosive playmaker, off the field to put Juju out there. 62% of snaps in week 7, 6 targets and a carry, put up 75 yards. He had multiple opportunities to score. They threw him out near the end zone. Wasn't a great pass by Mack. And then the play before Gesicki scored the game winner, they ran the exact same play basically for 5'8" Demario Douglas. Works a lot better with 6'6" Gesicki to throw that little jump ball in the end zone, but he did get a shot to score a touchdown there. Clearly they're trying to get him the ball, get him out in space, throwing him screens, getting him open downfield. He's their best yards after the catch guy. He fits the slot mold perfectly of what they've always liked with Edelman, with Welker, those types of guys that are kind of jitterbug slot guys that can get open, but he's got a little more long speed. And I just don't see how you go away from him at this point.
Yeah, him and Bourne need to be the top tier receivers for that team. They're the best ones.
It seems like they made that decision last week, and I don't know why they would go away from it now.
Yeah, they shouldn't. They clearly shouldn't.
Yeah.
Have a flex question in here before we hit tight end, or do you want to hit tight end real quick first?
Let's talk tight end. We're running a little over, and we can try to run through questions pretty quick.
Tight end. Last week, our name was Michael Mayer, backup quarterbacks. Just a gross game. He only saw 2 or 3 targets, had 2 catches.
It'll be better with Garoppolo back, but
yep. Our name this week, top tight end from last season, drafted Trey McBride. If you want to hit on him, Justin.
Yeah. So not a great matchup, but we actually threw him on the show doc a couple hours before it was announced that Zach Ertz is going on IR. So
yay timing.
Great timing, yeah. So he's been playing over 50% of snaps. That's going to go up to probably 80 to 90 now. He's seen 5+ targets in each of the last 2 games as well. So it's going to be a good game script for pass. And with Ertz on IR, he's a multi-week fill-in now. And Kyler if he doesn't come back this week, I would expect him back shortly thereafter. And with him back, it elevates the entire offense. They should score more. They should run more plays. I would expect a more exciting passing offense where McBride is one of the top 3 options with Wilson and Brown, assuming Brown doesn't get traded, which is still a possibility since his contract's up at the end of the year too. So I think McBride's a worthy streamer option going forward, if not a back end top 12 type guy.
The
So
landscape is gross.
tight end, yeah, it's pretty gross. One name we didn't touch on in running backs, we brought him up 2 weeks ago, Mari DiMercado. Sorry, while we're on Arizona, actually led the backfield, and we were again a week too early. So if he got added and then dropped, he's a worthwhile addition too. Sorry to jump back to that.
No, you're good.
Let's hit on some questions.
So I'm going to hit this one first regarding Darrell Henderson. So this is just a roster manipulation thing. He was signed to the practice squad initially, and players can be elevated and demoted. I think it's 3 times. Without. So that's purely roster manipulation. He is the top guy. There was another team earlier this season who was doing that with their top running back. I can't remember who it was, but this will happen, and it happens with linebackers a lot too.
Yep.
Quarterback one, Trevor Lawrence and Stroud. Dropped Stroud for Kyler Murray. I don't hate that with having Trevor Lawrence, who has still been balling out, has been playing really well on the field. It looks like the numbers are starting to catch up to that.
Yeah, Stroud's not a mobile, like he's mobile, but he doesn't run it a ton. So there were not many times where I was going to put him in over Trevor Lawrence with the weapons around them in those situations. So I like that because there are definitely matchups where I would play Kyler over Trevor. So
absolutely,
I think it's a good move.
Another offensive question in here. Rest of season at the flex. Jerome Ford, Palmer, Spears, Kincaid, Roschon, Gus, and Chuba.
Let me see. This is pretty tough.
It's really tough.
So Ford is going to miss a couple weeks with an ankle, but
he still might be one for me, 1 or 2. I don't see Hunter Strong taking that role from him.
Yeah. Let's see. I think the Ravens are a interesting team to add a running back. So Gus scares me. Roschon, with the way Foreman played, I think Roschon goes right back to the same role of not being useful, unfortunately, and probably just takes away the role that Darrington Evans had. I wouldn't be surprised if Foreman plays the Khalil Herbert role. I think if I need a win in the next couple of weeks, I think Chuba's probably my one, because I honestly think he's better than Miles Sanders, which is
not even close, my friend. On field, it's not close in my opinion, but it's a gross situation though, especially with Miles hurt again.
Everything's points data wise from what I've seen to Hubbard being a better player.
Either way there.
Ford is the long-term option. Palmer's a great stash. Kincaid, I don't love flexing tight ends. If I had to, and I have another one that's like a locked-in starter, I'm trying to find someone who needs one, and I'll try to get a flex off of them for him.
If this is a tight end premium, though, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah. Then Tajay Spears, you got to hope Henry's traded. That's the scenario for him.
But Spears has had some standalone value aside, but it's been really unpredictable. So especially with the Titans who drag competition down to their level.
Assuming it's 2 weeks. Yeah. For Ford, I'm probably going to rank someone else ahead of him, but he's the guy I want to flex most weeks when he's back. So him, Palmer, and Chuba Hubbard are at the top for me. Then probably Spears and Kincaid. Then Roshan and Gus.
So I'm going to go Palmer / Ford. Just depends. Palmer's been really good the last few weeks, and he is the clear two. Quentin Johnson has been very, very disappointing still, even with Mike Williams out. Those are the top two to me. Then, yeah, I think my guy Roshan has to be at the bottom right now. I would go Gus, Spears, Hubbard, Kincaid, Roshan to end that. But yeah, Ford and Palmer are the clear top two to me.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. That's all I have.
You want to talk on your guy?
Yeah, so he's really not being used poorly. He has played almost every snap this year, and 60-70% of them have been in the box slot area. It's really one of those things that
I think
just the numbers haven't caught up.
I also think the fact that he has Roquan and Queen ahead of him kind of hurts. Like, if he's playing behind weaker linebackers, he's getting more tackles. He's just playing behind good linebackers, so the guys aren't getting
still
through.
Has that big play.
Yeah, that defense.
Like, he has the 3-sack game this year.
That defense is just so good that his numbers are kind of lagging a little bit, but his upside weekly is pretty high.
Yeah, he still has overall DB1 upside every single week, but the floor is definitely lower. But
you watch him in games and you can see shades of Derwin James.
Yeah, I know it's something that's been brought up. I've said it here. Others have said it, but it's like he's the best slot defender in the league. Like, he's incredible there, which is weird because does not fit that profile at all. But he is incredible, and you just kind of have to hope the numbers catch up. I definitely am probably too high on him, and just letting that on-field ability kind of teeter that ranking for him for me. But
yeah, it's
an upside shot.
He's likely not going to pay off for you this week against the Cardinals. But there is always the shot for a pick six or what. Like, he can do anything on the football field. So
yeah, it's one of those where if it's like between him and like a Josh Metellus, who's almost guaranteed 7 tackles, it's like, that's awesome, but I'm going to take the shot at 8 tackles, 2 sacks, and a pick six, which Metellus doesn't really give you.
Yeah.
Or a similar player. Not trying to pick on Metellus, who we've also hit on in the show before.
So I think that's all the comments. We've gotten through everyone.
I think so.
We'll see if any more comments come in, but you want to start closing her up?
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us. I know we went a little long this time. It was great to have you back, Justin, after a little hiatus.
Yeah.
And as we said, head over to the idpguys.org or follow at the IDP Guys on Twitter, X, whatever. Rankings, articles, start sits, other previews, other great articles from all of our great writers. If you subscribe, you can see the snap count tool. There's also a newsletter. You can get onto our Discord, which, like Justin said at the top of the show, a lot of great writers in there all the time. We can answer any questions, trades, start sit, etc. And hit up Justin at FFF Ballers or me at Jolo63. We're always around to answer some questions for you, whether on Twitter or in the Discord. And it is great to be, I think we are the only really waiver shows that leans heavily towards IDP. So it's great to be here for you guys. It's been a lot of fun. We will see you next week and hope we get some 8-0s out there. May the force be with you.